So this is Kirby, and Kirby turns a little bit better to the left than he does to the right. Or sorry, a little bit better to the right than he does to the left. He doesn't like turning to the left as much. So what I often do with Kirby is I support his head so it can stay where it is. And I just work a little bit through his spine. And I'm looking for a sense of which direction the vertebrae want to go and which direction they don't want to go. As I'm coming below his shoulders, I'm noticing that more and more the vertebrae want to go to the right more than they want to go to the left. Often with Kirby, I'll come in to his sternum and just politely ask if that sternum can come to the right as well as it can come to the left, and whether or not there is availability there. Sometimes we'll also look at his tail and his hips. What I'm looking for is an availability to come over the right side as easily as he can come over the left side. And this is where I notice, especially with a beagle that I'm playing with a lot right now, a sort of splayed stance in lying and in sitting. That's that beagle not having the capacity to come over their one hip joint in the same way that they can come over the other. Thank you, Kirby. So he's adapting into sitting for me. And Kirby, can you notice the difference here versus here? Yeah, I know. So Kirby, he likes to come over to his left side because he turns to the right more naturally. In order to turn to the left, he would have to come over onto the right side, as well as he can come over to the left side. And that is difficult for him. I can begin to give him a sensation of turning to the left by helping his tail come over to the right so that his head can go over to the left. Notice how easily he turns to the right. So if I constrain his ability to turn to the right, if I encourage him to come a little bit more that way, I have to provide some sort of motivation for him. You can come here, girl. Come here. This way, this way, this way, this way, this way. There we go. So that's not natural to him, but it's possible as a choice. Now, the other thing that I do with Kirby quite a little bit to get a sense of his one hip versus the other is get him to chew on something. And then, come here, grab it, get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. What, get it, get it, yeah. And then when he's engaged in this way, come on, get it, get it. I can begin to get a sense of which hip is coming up more in his movement, and on which leg he can come back more fully. Come on, up, get it, get it, get it, come on. Get it, come on. Get it, good boy. And what I'm doing is I'm observing the way in which his front paws and his back paws come back to the ground. Come here. I'm trying to get a sense of whether or not there's an equitability or whether he comes down more fully onto the ground on one side than on the other. And part of building up that equitability for him is ensuring that he's exploring his weight coming over to the one side as much as he's exploring his weight coming over to the other side, so that he can start to build up a range of options. For for his hips, for his shoulders. Come on. For his back. Good boy. So his right foot makes a more complete contact with the table than the left foot. I'm not sure if you can see that at that angle or not. Come here. And what I can do is I can attempt to provide some kind of knowledge about how his knee can know his pelvis and his hip. I can do circles around the heel, around the front of the paw. And I can look at the way in which that hip flank comes in, similar to our abductor muscles on the outsides of our legs, and what part of his paw is making contact with the table. This helps me to help him find a few more options in the way that he can come over that left side of himself. So now if I constrain his right side and I get him to turn to the left. Kirby, come here. Okay. I constrain his right, get him to turn to the left. That's easier. Easier. Spin, spin. Can you spin the other way? Oh. Now, this is another really valuable position because if I can get him here, distracted by me, I can really dig into what is happening in those back paws and what is happening in his chest. And that can allow me to figure out there's parts of his rib basket that are maybe preventing him from coming over one paw versus the other. These are all the things that I'm starting to build up as I'm working with Kirby. I'm not certified in Intelligent Touch as yet. I might explore that practice as we go, but in the meantime, I'm interested in continuing to play with these movement patterns, functional movement patterns of coming over one paw versus the other, functional movement patterns of looking at how the legs go into the hips, and patterns of looking at how the shoulders and the sternum can connect with the spine. And there seems to be plenty in there for Kirby to cope with without having to look much more deeply at anything else. So we're going to leave that for now for Kirby. We're going to call that a good job done for today. Sometimes I use bacon or some other form of treat to motivate, but quite frequently it's just toys and touch. I would recommend working with animals to any new Feldenkrais practitioner. It's really helped to calibrate my touch. If I'm too rough with him or too directive, then he just won't let me. He'll object pretty quickly. Thank you, Kirby. Let's go and get the next client.